Hi guys, and thank you for joining me on my channel again. This evening we are going to be talking bright pink blush. Now bright pink blush I think is something that everybody should own because when we blush naturally, we blush pink. We don't blush brown, we don't blush purple. I mean, we all blush a shade of pink, right? Everyone. So that's why I feel like everyone should own a bright pink blush. It looks very natural on the skin. If you want to know what color best suits you, squeeze your hand like this and release, and that pink color you see, that's your natural blush color. So that is the color you should go for. If you're like me and your makeup all turns orange, then you should go with something a little bit more pinky because you anticipate that it's going to go a little bit more peachy. So anyways, let's dive right in, okay? We're going to start off with our Too Faced. This one right here, this is literally like a candy bubblegum Barbie pink. This is one of my favorites actually, okay? It's the Blurring Cloud Blush. So I find that this one, it's pretty intense actually too. Just a little bit on my nose, on my cheeks. Perfect. Then we're good to go for that one. Okay. Really good for oily skin too, because it blurs the pores in this area. Okay. Next up we have the very famous, but I think a little bit overhyped Dior Rosy Glow. Okay. I used to work for Dior, and this one we were always promoting, and I mean, on a lot of people, it doesn't even show up on their skin. Like it's nice on the people that it works on, but like as you can see, it barely even shows up, right? Let me put some on my nose right here. This one's supposed to oxidize with the oils in your skin and turn your own custom shade of pink. Okay. But this one I would say is best for people with medium to fair skin tones. On anyone darker, it's not going to show up. However, they do make darker colors. They make like a brick, and they also make a peach, and those colors will show up beautifully on a darker skin tone. Okay. Next up, we have MAC in Melba. This is probably one of their top selling blushes, I think. It's not a pink, actually. It's kind of like a peach almost. It's much more peachy in real life than on camera. This is a really good one for somebody who wants to hide redness in their face, and they don't want to add any redness, okay? But they still want to blush. Okay, next up, we have Rimmel Maxi Blush, because I promised I'd include drugstore products in, most of my reviews. This one's a really good one for just giving your cheeks that nice pop of color, like right here, okay? This one I'm going to apply a little bit on. Okay. Go. As you can see, it gives a really natural flush on my skin anyways. I think this shade works perfectly for most people, except for ultra deep skin tones. It might show up a little bit ashy, but okay. Next up, we have Winky Lux. Now this one's really cute. It's actually a cream blush that comes in the form of a petal, like flower petals. Okay. So this one you would take your finger or even a sponge. My new favorite thing actually to do is applying my blush with a sponge. The reason why is because when you apply it with a sponge, you're pushing it into the skin. So actually it melts in and it looks just like real skin. Whereas when you use, like, say, for example, a brush, you've got powder deposited on top of the skin. This pushes it in and it actually looks like your skin and like you're naturally blushing, okay? Love this one. This is probably best for normal to dry skin types. On an oily skin, this might disappear, okay? This one in the summer on my face, I don't wear it because it disappears. In the winter, however, it stays really well. Okay, next up we have our Gucci. It's this one right here in the shade, God, it's worn off on the bottom, but it's like the brightest one. It's this one right here. Okay, this one's very sheer. In terms of color payout, it doesn't really have a lot. I was a little bit disappointed with the amount of pigment in there, but it is kind of like that more high-end, I guess you could say, fashion experience where it's just a sheer wash of color. It's not supposed to be too intense, but I was a little bit disappointed, but I love the color. I mean, if I pack it on like crazy, it'll show up to a nice color, but I don't feel like I should have to dip my brush or my sponge in my blush 4 times to get good color, okay? Not the first time I've been disappointed with like a couture product or like a high-end fashion lines makeup products, okay? Next up, we have this liquid blush from Quo. Okay, this is a brand that is carried at Shoppers Drug Mart and Pharmaprix in Canada. Quo is pretty impressive actually for like an in-house brand. Usually most stores that have their own in-house brands, their in-house brands are not very good. They're usually like pretty basic. They don't have the right laboratories, the right technology, the money to spend on making the line good. So, but this line is actually delivering really well. This blush has a dewy finish to it, so it's not going to dry down to like a matte finish. It's going to always stay dewy and wet looking. I love this personally on top of like a powder blush or mixed in with a powder blush, because then it stays on really well. Okay, see that? Perfect. A little bit here, right there. Perfect. Yeah, so I really love that one because it's just very fresh looking. It's kind of the same idea as when you're pushing your blush into your skin with a sponge. It gives you that like blushing from within glow. You're not just makeup on top of your face, okay? Next up, we have my favorite one, which is the Kimchi. It's in the shade Thaler Moon, like TH Thaler Moon. Okay, not Sailor Moon. This one, as you can see, I like it so much that I pretty much used up the whole thing. I usually use the Barbie pink side, but sometimes I go for the peach side too, because this will end up turning this color on me eventually, anyways, right? But anyways, this one is really good for medium to fair skin tones. If I get a tan, this one won't show up on my face, but in the winter, this one goes beautiful. And I still use it sometimes in the summer, but if I get a tan, it's not going to show up. But I love this one. Beautiful, beautiful. Medium to fair skin tones, okay? Last but not least, we have our MAC. This is a bright red shade called Frankly Scarlet, and it's a matte. This is like the equivalent of something like this, but for a deeper skin tone. This is going to show up really nicely, and it's not going to go ashy because it's got that strong red tone to it. Okay, let me have a look at that. This one, pretty much anybody could use it if they were light-handed enough. Like somebody with fair skin could just very faintly dust this on right here, and it would look nice. Somebody with a deeper skin tone could put a little bit more on to get some more intensity, but this is what you would reach for if you have a deeper skin tone and you want the same effect that something like this or the Rosy Glow would have on a fair skin tone, okay? This, I still use it every now and then when I get really tanned. Pop a little bit of red in there. Makes it look more natural. Perfect. So there you go. And now we'll talk about application. You can do your powder brush, okay? You can do it in swirling motions or whatever. I mean, blush is very trendy right now. There's always like a new way to put it on. I don't really care. I just put it on the way I like it. But anyways, so you could use a blush brush. This is actually technically a foundation brush, but something like this, okay? I personally use this brush here because I like a little bit more precision. I like it because then I can contour with it, right? This. And it doesn't deposit too much color on, because when you use something like this, you can put a lot of color on and you're like, oh shit, what do I do? And you're blending with your fingers, you're trying to get it off, and you're screwed, essentially, right? Okay, last but not least is a sponge. This is my new favorite way to put on blush, because like I said, you push it into the makeup, and it melts and it looks like real skin, and it doesn't look makeup, okay? Well, that's it for tonight. Thank you guys for joining me. We'll see you tomorrow.